You there! What do you mean you're not on the biggest Supreme Commander 2 Discord in the world with over 700 members? The server's over 5 years old and we're still hosting games daily. Come join us by clicking the first link in the video description. You won't regret it. Hello and welcome to another Supreme Commander 2 video. I have switched over to my laptop microphone because I've had some issues with the studio mic with some constant hissing in the background. I have been filtering that out with some automatic noise cancellation in the editing program I use, which is DaVinci Resolve, if anyone's interested. But it does make the audio sound muffled, which is a bit of an issue, so I'm not sure if this is going to be better. I'd appreciate some feedback. And today I'd like to go over a quick 3v3 replay I had the other day as a follow-up to my air micro tutorial video. So I'm not going to focus on the front players as much, and on this map, in the front, there's plenty of things you can do. You can try to rush early with land, you can try to go for some research, or you can even try to help the person in the back with airplanes. The front players can make air as well, and play a bit more defensive until they can really start harassing all the exposed mass that is really hard to cover with anti-air. But the person in the back on this map is always forced to do but one thing, which is air, always. There's no way you can do anything but air when you're all the way in the back here, because you're just too far away from supporting your teammates in any other way. Because if your team has no air cover at all, then you could try to go forward and build anti-air for one person, but the other one's just gonna get abandoned and swarmed. Plus, yeah, then this person can just attack through the middle while your other teammate can't push up because he would get bombed, right? It's not a good synergy. So always want to have airplanes in the back here, and the front players maybe can help you with that. They can maybe join you in air, and you can work together. So here you see me in the bottom left corner, starting out with those early facts before mass. Well, only with my ACU. And on the opposite side, we got Viper. His name has some funny characters which break in the replays. And you can see he's adding a research station, plus factories after the mass extractors. Now, mass early on Van Horne or any other large map is not a big deal. But the research station, which is 375 mass, I believe, almost 400, is a heavy investment, and you're gonna see it sets you back a lot, both on eco and the early amount of airplanes. And while it is completely possible to, as the air player, defend these mass extractors with maybe an anti-air tower here, or maybe you run forward and build the second factory and try to use the add-on on that, it is entirely possible to defend yourself until that research station starts taking over around 7 minutes, and you can contest the early air. But the thing is that you're completely abandoning your teammates. You're gonna have so little air, and sure, you can try to cover yourself, but the enemy air, which in this case would be me, the opposite side, basically can start bombing all they want, and there's nothing you in the back can really do against that. You can try to run forward and try to protect one person with anti-air, but that's just expensive and inefficient. And you can see very early 1, 2, 3, 4 airplanes from me, while Red just got out his first airplane, which is using to scout. And here I'm going to fly over Red's base, Viper, and as I see what's going on, I'm gonna start being way more aggressive. Now, you want to be sure that you've scouted everyone, because in case someone else went early air, one of the teammates, it wouldn't be wise to just be super aggressive and try to snipe some engineers, because you would get taken down by the other air. But once you scouted all 3 slots, you can see we're barely 2 minutes into the game, so it is entirely doable, and also pretty important. It's pretty safe to assume that Red's not going to be much of a threat in this case. And also, this many generators for 2 factories is totally unnecessary. If you look over to my base, my factories are running fine, and I'm just now building the energy generators. While I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 airplanes out, and already bombing everything I can. Here you see Unknown Desire doing a bit of a funny line here, and okay. It might not look as good as just doing a line from top to bottom here, but if you look at the distance from the choke point, you can see that the shape kind of draws a circle of equal distance to here. So all of these buildings are kind of an equal distance away from Purple's base. The one thing I would maybe do differently is try to sneak an energy generator in front of this mass extractor and move this a bit forward, because if this mass extractor dies, that's resetting the veterancy, meaning that when you rebuild it, it's going to give a lot less mass. I'm sorry if moving around, like zooming in, zooming out too fast, causes the video quality to drop. I've noticed that on the last video, and that's... I don't know if that's a thing of bitrate. My computer is probably just not being able to work fast enough to really save that, because my bitrate is set quite high. Definitely should be able to handle zooming in and zooming out quick, but yeah, I don't know what that's about. And yep, it's important to go for the soft targets early. A lot of people like to wait until they have a lot of airplanes before they attack, but you can see 8 planes can do a lot of damage. Here I barely noticed the engineer in time to drop some bombs, and you can see if you drop the bombs late, they almost drop from a 90-degree angle, which is pretty weird, but you're gonna see me try to use this on the way back, I think. Yep. And I'm gonna slow it down. You can see Unknown Desire is trying to hide the engineer behind the mass extractor. Now, if I just targeted the engineer normally, it would all hit the mass extractor and the engineer would survive. So I try to fly over it and queue it up last second. I fail at doing it a bit. Only 1 airplane manages to drop it, so I was just a bit too late on that. And you can see it does hit the engineer from there. And I was pretty lucky that 1 bomb came from the side, which killed the engineer after all. So you gotta go for engineers first, because obviously the engineers can build anti-air and repair things. So those should be the first targets you take out. And here you see another air engagement. And Red, even with the research station, Red definitely shouldn't be fighting me right now. There's no anti-air here. So what Red should be doing is saving up his planes over some FAC anti-air maybe, and waiting for that research station to kick in. Because right now, his airplanes might be slightly stronger than mine. Actually, they're not. Yeah, I've killed so much stuff with my airplanes. That's another thing. When you're killing things, it gives you research. So I've killed so much stuff that pretty much I've become stronger than Red already. I've caught up on the research without a single research station. So that's another thing you have to think about when you want to play very defensive and try to only join the airfight in the late game. I'm doing the zoom thing again, I'm sorry. So let's just pop right back. And so not only are my airplanes stronger now, there's also more of them. And it is going to be a bit of a close one. I am trying to manually target the weak airplanes here. And sometimes you just see the lazy A-click on the ground. Because, yeah, I still gotta focus on other things in the back of the base. And you have to keep track of what's going on around the map. But you can see me still come out on top when I'm fighting 2 people making airplanes while fighting in their base all the way across the map, just because I started building those airplanes early. It's very important, especially on this map or on Fields of Isis, that you drop the factories early. The only situation where you can go for a research station is against UEF, because the UEF airplanes may build cheaper and faster, but the problem is that they're very specialized and they can't bomb. Which means that even though if I was UEF here, I would be able to just take air control immediately, but what am I going to do with it? I could try to build some bombers and try to harass some engineers, but that would be relatively easy to take care of. Plus, if I build too many bombers, then the other person who's still making airplanes, even with the one rest station, could take over, could come out on top. So I have to be careful with how many bombers I can build. And I can tell you right now, I wouldn't be able to make more than 4 or 5 before the other person starts catching up on numbers. Which is why you always want to keep pumping out airplanes, even if you have slightly less planes. You just keep them over anti-air, but you never want to stop airplanes completely, because then I can just switch to gunships, switch to AC-1000 Terrors, and then it's just over for everyone. So since as UEF I would only really have fighters, there's nothing I could really bomb, and the one thing I can give my teammates is intel. I can fly around everywhere and keep scouting indefinitely, but that's not going to give too much information. That's not as useful as the first flyover when you see the first buildings that the person initially invested all of their starting mass into. And everything else, my teammates can pretty much see on radar when they get closer. So continuously scouting later is not as important as the initial early scout, which helps your teammates adapt their build if they still have some leftover mass, and decide whether they want to push really fast or play defensive. And I completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, okay, so UEF, I'll have fighters. I'm not going to be able to bomb too many things, but the thing is that since I don't have fighters and I can't bomb things, the only thing I can do is either just wait, maybe pause my factories, try to catch up on research, or fly straight into the other person's base and fight over their anti-air, which could end up in which could mean that I lose the air fight. So yeah, against UEF, you can totally pull off a research station and keep your planes over anti-air, try to bait them into attacking you, and later on, 7 or 8 minutes into the game, the research station is going to kick in, and you're definitely going to be able to start taking back air control from the UEF air player. And as the UEF air player, then maybe you want to pause the factories and add a research station of your own, because if they've invested the mass into it, then so can you. The only thing you can't really catch up on is if they built their mass extractors super early and you've built your factories early, well, you can't really turn back time to invest more into eco than you've already did. And here you can see me continuously harassing Red's teammates. Red can do nothing about it. You can see he starts making some anti-air towers. He's lost all of his planes, and on this map, once you win air control, it just goes downhill. It starts snowballing really hard, because now you can see green is able to push really far into their base if he manages to sneak through some bots. And normally the enemy air player would be able to bomb those. And even if they have less planes, then white could just have an anti-air tower here. It's always, again, this is why it's always good to have at least one factory in your starting base. Because even as much as an anti-air add-on, which only costs 80 mass on that factory, would be able to support your air player and give him the ability to bomb any units that that you don't catch, that sneak around and get to the back. Get behind your formation. That's what I was looking for. And this is why I don't like UEF air on this map as much, because if some bots sneak through, there's nothing you can do. It pretty much dooms all of these back expansions to die. Because since your airplanes can't bomb, the only thing you can try to do is just run at the thing with your commander, and then you'll just be chasing them around the map. They can split up. You only have one ACU while they have all the units that they brought. And this is especially bad if you have an ACU rushing player on the other side. This is what the memes I've made in the past about the ACU rushing UEF air on Van Horne was about, in case you didn't get those. If you have UEF air and a Cybern player goes triple research in the front, obviously peak is now Aeon, but let's say it was Cybern. If you have Cybern or Aeon, maybe even the UEF, with some research of their own, they can start jump jetting around, teleporting around, building turrets in their base, because with the triple research, you're not going to have any way of building missile launchers, and you can get into the enemy base from across pretty fast. So if you're a Cybern and you're really heavy on the research, and there's a triple research Aeon player against you, they can just teleport behind your stuff, start building turrets, and the Aeon turrets actually outrange the rest of the faction's turrets. So even if you try to build a turret yourself to defend yourself, they can just build one slightly outside the range, kill the turret, and then start getting closer and closer, killing your back expansion. And even if you do manage to defend yourself, the Aeon player that teleported behind your base can just start running around harassing the air player, which means that the air player of the teammate of the Aeon AC Rusher can now start bombing stuff, because their air counterpart has pretty much lost air superiority since they have to deal with their mass extractors dying, maybe even building turrets of their own to defend, tactical missile launchers on the factories to kill any turrets that have been built around their base. The teammate of the AC Rusher can start bombing any unit that the land player who's against the AC Rushing person is going to try to send at their base, which is what you want to do. If you have an Aeon AC Rushing ACU come in and teleport to the back of your base, well, immediately try to send out anything you have at their base, and be sure to bring missile launchers. Because since their ACU is behind your base, well, there's nothing really defending theirs. And the reason you want to build missile launchers is that a single turret would pretty much be able to stop any early push that you try to bring. This is probably a really bad way of explaining it, but I'll try to find a replay of this, and I think I'll just show that after this replay right here. This is pretty much over. You can see, once you win air on Van Horne core, the mass extractors are so spread out, it's really hard to come back from that. So I'm just going to speed this up, and yeah. Nothing really interesting happens after this. I think I get holo flares at some point. Nope, no holo flares. Okay, I thought I was holo flares, but that's just I thought I was holo flares.
Well, that was idiotic. Off to hang myself. Off and left.
And yep, more harassment. Another air engagement. Not very well synchronized between blue and red. That's why it's good to be in voice chat with your teammates, because if you have multiple air players, you want to work as one unit. You want to have all your planes at one spot, because a small difference in numbers can make a big difference in results. And if you attack in two waves, I think now I have holo flares. Yeah, now there's holo flares, the green little things falling out of the airplanes, which distract the enemy projectiles. If you send your air forces in two waves instead of one, the first one's gonna die before the second one gets there, pretty much. You want to synchronize very well. So, yeah. Let me just speed this up. And yeah, early air factories for the win. They work pretty well. Okay, I've picked a replay that literally has Aeon AC Rush against Cybern Research UEF Air in the name, so I haven't watched this yet, but I'm pretty sure it's what we're looking for. Okay? If you're wondering where I'm in any replay, just look for the brown. Top left corner, Aeon. We got World Supreme Leader. Huh. I'm pretty sure that's not an old replay. World Supreme Leader is a very old player, but I think he came back recently. I saw him like a week ago, for the first time in 2 years. And, oh, Guy! Against Kirito, Radus, and Charismatic Potato. So we got both people, UEF, and me against a Cybern player, going really heavy on the eco. And yep, there it is, research. Building it a bit late, usually just want to spread it around yourself to make sure that your AC doesn't have to walk too far before building it. And I think Radis was just maybe looking at the F2 screen, looking at the score, to try and figure out what I'm doing before dropping that third one. Or maybe just waiting for the scout. I don't really see if Yellow scouted. I would assume that he did. You always want to scout with the first airplanes you got. And, yep, there it is. Free res. Going forward with the ACU right away. Radis definitely sees what's coming with the radar. And here you'll see just how fast you can get teleport and just jump into an exposed base with no defense. It's a bit of a cheese build, and again, it only works against UEF air, because if... Oh, there you go, teleport. And yeah, I didn't even wait for the extended range, so I got the short teleport and just walked. Just made sure to jump behind his commander, which is a bit risky. You can always wait to get 3 more research points and get the... What does it do? Double the range? Maybe even more than that. It could be like 200%. But you can see the short teleport, you can get that before 4 minutes, and if you save up mass for some turrets, then yeah, it's pretty brutal. Cybern has to research the missile launchers, and also they have shorter range than the other factions, while Aeon turrets have more range than other turrets. Now, the Cybern missile launchers still outrange the Aeon turrets, but you can just kill those with your commander with the upgraded range, since you're probably going to keep pumping points into your commander. And now, you can see Yellow tries to come in for help, but what is that going to do? You can't just run into a P line. Radis gets Structure Deto for his buildings. He manages to damage my commander with detonating in a single building when I wasn't expecting it. But that's the one and only building that's really going to damage me, because once you see that once, you don't have to really worry about. You just have to make sure that you're keeping your distance. And the problem with researching that is that it cost 3 research points, assuming he already had the build cost build time decrease, which is pretty popular as Cybern. I wouldn't recommend it against Aeon, because as unpopular as it is, if someone walks up here and starts building tactical missile launchers, there's not much you can do, because you don't have enough research to get the adapters. You've already spent your research on the build cost build time. And if they target specifically your research stations, then it's gonna put you back a lot. So yeah, Structure Deto costs 3 to 5 research points. And it's only useful against small land spam and small teleporting tanks. Like, what is it gonna do against the ACU? As long as I keep my distance, then I'm pretty much good. And I don't even have to attack his base. I can just go for his teammates, right? And Radis should really be attacking my base at the moment, which is what I'm expecting. So I've already established a bit of a forward outpost here, defending this choke point. Well, the 2 choke points, actually. And yeah, the one thing I was a bit afraid of was jump jets, which is what I also told my teammate. And as long as your teammate stays above your base, around here, the enemy can't jump jet. Even though they're only fighters, the flying units can be shot at by the fighters, right? So all you have to do is build some anti-air to support your air player, because if they're shooting at the jump jetting units, then the enemy air would be able to start attacking the fighters, right? So it wouldn't be the greatest air fight for your ally, right? So you definitely want to support them with some anti-air if you're expecting jump jets, but you're also already harassing the enemy air player, so it's questionable whether you even need that, because the enemy air player is going to be very busy defending themselves. And here you see the entire base of green is gone. He doesn't even have to research for the missile launchers, because he upgraded the build cost and then structure detonate. He's detonating the buildings to avoid me getting research. So the only way he can push up back and reclaim the territory is to build a factory and get the tactical missile launcher add-on for the factory. But like I said, his teammates are just fucked. I think I ran out of energy there. I'm teleporting around a lot, and I only had, what, 3-4 generators. I just added some more now, because I realized that the amount of energy I have is not enough. And it's pretty awkward when you don't have enough energy for a turret, but you can see a little panic generator in the enemy territory just to get that extra energy, just to drop this turret, which is gonna distract purple which again is helping Guy, who's red here. So yeah, you harassing all the other players is helping your teammates, which means that then later on they can help you. And instead of just me killing the mass extractors, I'm dropping down turrets, because it takes time to shoot the mass extractors down. But the thing with turrets is that as soon as you build it, you can just teleport out and start building it elsewhere, while the turrets also completely deny this position. God, I hope you can see the cursor. Any engineer that's going to try to come in is going to die. Well, they can probably see it on radar, so they're not going to send the engineers anyway. But they see that there's a turret there, and it's covering both of these mass extractors, so you're basically denying these two. And it's going to delay them taking back their own expansion that you've attacked. And they also have to build tactical missile launchers to even kill the turret. You can see, there it is, the tactical missile launcher right on. Shooting the missiles, targeting my ACU at the moment. You don't want to build a tactical missile launcher before there's any buildings. If you build it, the first thing it's going to target is a building, but if there's no buildings, it's just going to target any land units that's the closest. Here I try to PD creep into yellow's base, but I notice green's units and change my mind. So as I was saying, if you build the tactical missile launchers before there's any buildings, it will start targeting the closest land unit, which in this case is my commander. And as long as that one is moving, this tactical missile launcher will keep firing on it until it dies, or until it's out of range. Which is why you want to build it reactively. You want to wait until the enemy drops their buildings, and then you make the tactical missile launcher. And Radis is trying to chase me down with his units. Not recommended. Even with jump jets, I think orange would do enough of it. I think I told him here to just go away. He was trying to protect me, but I have it under control with teleport. If green tries to jump jet, not only is this probably not enough units to kill the commander, which has a lot of upgrades, I could just teleport out. Maybe to this little island here. Not exactly to purple's base, but if green's units jump jet to here, then obviously there's now no units in his base, and I can start doing turrets again. And here, potato... he's got the spirit, but he's a little confused. And a UEF turret, well, maybe against teleport overcharge, but that's not gonna come 9 minutes into the game, right? It takes 7 minutes and 30 seconds alone to get overcharge with 3 research stations without upgrading anything else. It takes exactly 7 minutes and 30 seconds to get overcharge for the Aeon Commander. But the problem is that I'm upgrading all sorts of things, right? Teleport and the movement speed, plus this UEF turret can get outranged by the Aeon turret. And again, this is the same logic as the anti-air against bombers from the last video, because all I have to do is just attack everywhere where the turret isn't. Which means that I will cripple the economy of the forward player. Well, if I was attacking purple, I would be crippling their economy, which would help Guy, who would then win against purple, right? Here I'm crippling green, but obviously I'm not gonna... Well, I am gonna try to make an army of my own to attack later, but here I'm just crippling green, but that's not gonna do much. All that crippling green is gonna achieve is that it's gonna buy me more time. But what you really want to be doing as the Aeon teleport rushing cheese person is attacking the air player. Because all of the stuff you kill on the air player is directly... Oh, there it is, overcharge. Wow, okay, I got that pretty fast. Must have been all the things that I've destroyed. Usually, you wouldn't kill this much stuff, right? If green got out some mobile missile launchers, then I was definitely surprised to take his entire base. But yeah, you have to keep in mind that you are getting research from killing things. Not sure what the hunker's gonna do. That's... Yeah, if I activated my overcharge, the hunker would give Radis time before the overcharge runs out, and then he could run away, but yeah, I didn't have it there, so that doesn't make much sense. So, the generator line, what I did here was just to make sure that even if he tries to jump jet and gets flies over this shit and gets to the back. As Aeon, you can get the generator lasers, which do splash damage and outrange a Megalith, I think. So any land units that would jump jet over would just die to these, probably. And as I was saying, you want to be harassing the air player mostly, trying to just avoid green. Well, whoever is on the other side of the bridge, right? Just trying to avoid the land player, cripple them a bit so they don't push into your base. You want to keep them busy. Here you see I made 4 turrets, shields, generators, everything, anticipating an attack, but green... Oh, even making another one. Anticipating an attack from purple or green, but none of them attacked ever. But as long as you're harassing the enemy air player, this is directly gonna help your air player, who can then help you. Not only covering your base from jump jets or bombing attacks, but also later they can just start pumping out bombers, and purple's not giving up just yet. Oh, here you see me jump all the way from here to here. Once you get the range upgrade, it's really hard to keep the Aeon ACU in check. So, okay. The problem that Radus, or Green in this game did, is starting out with the research against Aeon when you have UEF Air, right? If anything teleports back, even in the late game, in case I was just spamming small land units and then getting teleport for those, the UEF Air player is not going to be able to help you with any units that jump back and start harassing you, right? So if you have UEF Air and you're going up against Aeon, you absolutely have to spam small land units or do airplanes. There's no way you can get away with research. Even if I just went 2 air in this scenario, I don't think Green would have enough resources to get enough adapters out to push before we pretty much kill all of his teammates. Maybe a bomb bouncer rush, and he could try to push with that, but then again, I could just spam shields, and he doesn't have megaliths, he only has a bomb bouncer. So as long as I have enough PDs here and shields, he's not going to be able to get through. So he's just stuck here, while again, me and my air player can just continue to bomb his teammates, which is going to cause our other land player to win his fight. You have to think in terms of synergy. So you want to pick if you want to spam small land or airplanes, because there's no way you're going to get away with research. And the one way Radus could have saved the game is, instead of land units, switch to gunships. Small gunships. The research stations are going to give them a lot of health, which means that even if I had the little anti-air tower add-on for the commander, which does do a lot of damage actually, if you get veterancy and training for your commander, because that scales. This isn't just any anti-air tower, this scales with the veterancy and the training, which means that at some point it's going to start just one-hit killing airplanes, which is pretty funny. Not very effective against holo flares, but those are far into the future. But if Green was able to get enough gunships, not only would they completely shut down the AC rushing, as slow as the gunships are, they would catch up eventually. Plus they would completely protect his space and his air player. I would maybe be able to get like 2 mass extractors around the corners. But he could probably also attack my base with the gunships. And if Orange tried to shoot those down, even with the anti-air I would have, it would mostly be distracted by the gunships. And since the gunships would have so many upgrades, then yeah, they would definitely survive a bunch of air towers and kill those. So back to the actual replay, you can see I try to help Guy, I try to protect Guy with my commander. I teleported a bit out of position here. I should have been as close to the megaliths as possible. So he's probably going to lose one. What you want to do against small land spam when they're teleporting around, maybe not build as many megaliths, you only need 1 for the range, so you can keep kiting the units and slowly chipping down their health, while you build a few land factories and just spam mobile artillery. You're probably going to have less units than the Aeon, but if they try to teleport directly onto you, they're going to take a lot of artillery straight to the face. Mobile artillery right here, Brackman. So I would get maybe 1 or 2 megaliths with 20 or 30 Brackmen instead of 3 or 4 megaliths. And don't forget that Cybern can also get not only sacrifice detonate for their buildings, but they can also sacrifice their units. Which means that if they you never want to teleport straight on top of Cybern units as an Aeon, you want to do a little triangle, put your units on a control group, 1, 2, 3, and using Control T, you teleport here, here, and here, and then also spread the units around to do as much of a circle as you can, while trying to kite the Cybern units. So if they try running at you, you just select those units and move them back. And then move the ones on the other side closer, because now all of the supporting land units moved somewhere else. But if ever, as a Aeon land player, you teleport straight onto Cybern units, all you have to do is sacrifice 6 or 7 units and it's gonna kill 40, 50 tanks if they're all in the single spot. So I'm just gonna speed this up and get it over with, because there's not much that's gonna happen after this. The game's already won, but Purple's still just holding out for the memes. It's annoying when someone just killed themselves right when, like, the slightest inconvenience happens. Now, there are scenarios where you don't want to just run away in an escape pod to the corner of the map trying to hide, right? That is a bit annoying, but if you still have a base and units, I mean, there's really no reason to just leave the game. As desperate as it might be. And here you see me finishing that beautiful generator line in case Purple tries to teleport behind all of these turrets. And some more turrets in the back, just to take care of any units that try to break off. And yeah, you can see Guy tries to jump jet in. It's a shame I missed that. Guy tries to jump jet in to help me with the snipe. And here I am in an escape pod. So yeah, there's that replay. So here you can see what happens when you try to do research as a Cybern when you have UEF air. Because if anything breaks away from the front line, if anything gets behind your formations, then there's nothing you can do. You could try, if you have jump jets, you could try to chase them, chase the units, but it's really hard. It's not easy. It's gonna cost your teammates time. It's gonna cost you time, and it's just not a good idea. Which is why you want either pick air or land, but not research. Maybe a single research station, but not 3. Definitely not 3 or 4, which is what Radis did in this game. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it. This video is a bit shorter than the rest. Be sure to comment on the microphone, because I don't know if I should use this one on my laptop, or if I should switch back to the studio mic and try to do the voice, try to do the noise cancellation thing. I might not be doing it optimally, which is why it sounds muffled. But then again, there's just this annoying white noise that's constantly there, so it doesn't really matter how good the noise cancelling program is. It's always gonna cripple some frequencies when you try to take that out with Fourier transforms. So that's the video. I hope this was helpful. I hope you've learned something new, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.
Click A, which is the shortcut for attack, and when you left click on the ground, just like any unit in the game, what that does is that every single wasp, individually, will try to target the nearest thing. But the problem is that when they target something once,